Right.
Well, it is 4 o'clock on one of these coasts. Who cares which one? Ladies and germs, it's time for Metroid Streams. Oh, I'm sorry. Joystiq Streams, Metroid Edition. I am sort of like, I'm your half host, half-hearted. This is Mike Suzak.
Mike is losing his mind.
I'm joined by man in the game. This we're gonna tell you more about this. It's gonna be really fun. Zav D'Amatos is with us.
Hey, what's up?
And we also have Susan Arndt here.
Hello.
And we're playing this remake of Metroid 2. Zav, I want you to tell me more about what we're looking at here.
Right now you're looking at a splash screen that shows...
Thank you, yeah.
It's very pretty.
Right now you're looking at key art, is what they call it.
Which we're going to be looking at for an hour.
Yeah, we're just going to examine...
I mean, we all understand that Samus is flipping us off, right?
Right, exactly.
Okay.
This is her reaction to not being in a game for the last 4 years.
Exactly.
Her own game.
Not in her own game, yeah.
Exactly. So, so another Metroid 2 remake has been in development for, gosh, like almost a decade. This group of developers has been trying to remake the original Game Boy game, which is the second game that was ever released. I think it was released in like 1992-ish, I think.
1990X, yeah.
Yeah, 1990X. So that was originally released on the Game Boy, and this is a remake in the Super Metroid style of graphics and gameplay, but with that Metroid 2 storyline. And this is the demo. This is about a quarter of the game. I've seen speedruns last about 30 minutes. That will not happen here because I'm not going to speedrun it because I forget where to go about 20 minutes into it, so it's going to be super fun. But I also have my Game Boy player hooked up, and gosh, let me just make sure everything's turned on here. I have my Game Boy player hooked up, and I have the original Metroid 2. So I thought it'd be fun if we can check out what the game used to look like, and then we'll play the remake. So, gosh, I am a huge Metroid fan. Mike, I know you are too. Susan, you've never played Metroid.
Not in any amount, no.
This is like a learning exercise for you.
Yes,
really.
Exactly. Reset the...
I don't think I've ever seen them referred to as a game pack.
So, yeah. It's all new things everyone's learning here during the stream. So
what are we going to start with? Which one are we?
We're going to start with the original one. So this is what it looked like when it came out in the 90s. Actually, well, I guess it was black and white when it came out originally. But you'll notice that when we actually get into the remake, a lot of this, like the layouts have been preserved. A lot of the reimagining of some of these enemy types also have been sort of redone. It's so good, guys. I really wish that team can finish that game because you get to the end of that demo and it's like, what? No, there's just so much more story. And and Metroid 2 is actually it's pretty rare because that game. The story of that game is really important to the story of the entire series going forward. Like, so the story in Super Metroid is the Metroid... there's like one Metroid left in captivity, and then it's at a space station, and they're like doing testing on it, and then that space station is attacked. This is the game where you get that Metroid, so like, it seems really rare that like the main story of this big franchise Nintendo has was told in a Game Boy game. And it's like really important to the overall story of the entire series. So it's pretty interesting.
Well, the Game Boy games are handheld games. Used to be much more prominent in series. I mean, that happened with a number of different titles. Whereas now it seems like you've got your Game Boy games, you know, your DS games rather, I should say, and they're kind of over here. And then there's your other stuff over here, and there's just never the twain shall meet. You'll have the proper version of something, and then maybe there's the DS knockoff version. But it just seems like that kind of development has gone in completely its own direction. Whereas back in the 90s, there was a lot more, okay, well, the next one in the series might be on this system, or it might be on the Game Boy, or whatever, and it was a lot more interchangeable.
Yeah. I don't. It's to me, it's interesting too because it used to be such a series that Nintendo really would tout like this is our big. I mean, if anything, this is their big shooter.
Right.
You know what I mean? And
Yep.
it's so weird that they haven't made a new one since 2010, and they didn't even make the last one. I mean, Team Ninja made that game, and that game was not. That's where Domestic Samus comes from.
That is where Domestic Samus comes from.
That's the that's the reference we make on this show constantly.
They tried really hard.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's really fair.
It's so dumb.
Would you like some cookies?
Yeah, I know. It is strange that Nintendo has just been like, Metroid,
Yeah.
what if, it's fine.
I don't. It's
cool.
strange is one word. Heartbreaking is another one that I would use.
That's a good word for it. Yes.
I mean, in the actual like chronology of the entire series, this game is like sort of takes place in the middle. This is actually also one of the other only franchises that Nintendo has always maintained a storyline for. Like Zelda, they only just released that like anniversary book that was like, okay, this is the official story of Zelda.
Right.
And like this has an actual story, and this had like a comic book that told like a pretty big chunk of the story too in the 90s.
You are such a nerd, dude. You are such a nerd.
Dude, I love this series so much. It's ridiculous. So like, if you play the original game, there's not a lot of like the NES game. There's not a lot of story, obviously. But if you play Zero Mission, which is sort of like a reimagining of the same story, it's a different game, but it's a reimagining of that same story. And I maintain that because I'm going to try to put in my best of the last decade post.
Oh, you are such a cheater. You are such a cheater.
I maintain that it's its own thing, but all right.
No, no, we are going to have words about that, sir.
So yeah, it's funny because the story of this game takes place in like the middle of the series, and like Super Metroid, the last game that is in the narrative line of this is like Metroid Fusion, which came out in 2002.
Oh, I played a little of that.
Yeah, so like it's just frustrating. Like that's the last time you got like the latest story in this franchise was 2002. Like come on, it's crazy. So that's
hold on. Greystream has a very important correction to what you were saying. Actually, sir, it was a manga.
Oh, sorry. You know what? I apologize completely. That is a legitimate thing that he should be upset at, that I got that right.
Okay.
So yeah.
So okay. So are there any Nintendo first-party games that would have taken the spiritual place of this? Like because you're right. It's curious because you've got Mario handles the platforming business,
Right.
and then you've got Mario Kart, of course. Zelda handles your adventuring role-playing business.
Mm-hmm.
There really isn't anything kind of in this shootery zone, is there?
No, I mean there's that Project Hammer that never came out, and other crazy things that they've announced. Oh, I think what is that shooter that Anthony loved at E3 this year? Splatoon. Like
Splatoon.
Why? Listen, I think that's a fun idea and it looks really cool, but like, you have Metroid and you have Retro, who is still making Donkey Kong Country games at this point.
Right.
Let them make another Metroid game.
We got a couple of people saying Kid Icarus. I mean, we had the one Kid Icarus game, but that was different, you know?
Yeah.
That was a very different kind of game. I just think that there's a little bit of a crossover, kind of, not crossover, but there's a little like overlapping going on where Metroid introduces the shooting part, but there's a lot of platforming and stuff going on here too.
True, yeah.
I mean,
which is why
yeah.
Splatoon is not really a good comparison, Alexander.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it really does still stink of being its own beast, in my opinion. You know, I think that it's a different enough game that it totally could exist. And I guess Nintendo would say, well, look, we had one in 2010. And no one wants to count that. No one that's sane.
No one in the world wants to count that. Now that I've died.
Well, Anthony likes it, so let's not even.
I was telling Zav earlier. I like the gameplay side of it. I hate the story.
Well, the story is we all.
And
know.
I know I'm not alone there. I know there are others that feel the same. But I mean, what do people want at this point? They want. either another side-scrolling style Super Metroid game, or they want a Metroid Prime, which, there was the third Metroid Prime was on Wii. So,
ooh, Metroid Pinball. Yes.
That's a great idea.
Which is not part of the canon, by the way. There is no necessary story in that game.
Well, Something Mimic disagrees because it's a pinball machine in the Mushroom Kingdom. So,
are you serious?
There you go. No, I don't know.
Oh, I thought it was
next
like
to the Pokemon pinball machine.
Oh, okay. I was just like, what's happening?
Also, Catarox says you're terrible at this game.
Hey, it's not very easy to control this thing with a wave word.
It's a bad carpenter who blames his tools.
Or, a smart one. Whichever one comes first. Measure twice, cut once, die multiple times. I don't remember how it is.
Cut your hand off, twice, and then that doesn't happen anymore.
So now we are in the remake. This is another Metroid 2 remake, Return to Samus. It's actually called another Metroid 2 remake. Although it confused Susan earlier when I wrote that in our post announcing this.
It really did.
So this is a demo of what they've been working on for a very long time. They're still working on it because the latest version of this demo I haven't played, and it came out a week ago. And it's been in development forever. So long that I think the original website was like a GeoCities website. So let's jump into the game. So you'll notice immediately sort of the same opening section, although it's not extraordinarily zoomed out like it was in the original game. I wonder if there's I know I was watching the chat earlier and people were saying that they really enjoy the Metroid Series 2, and someone said that they really like Metroid 2. I wonder if anyone was even aware that this existed, if they've played this, or in the chat there.
We do have people that are contesting whether or not Metroid Pinball is canon. So there's that.
No,
it is canon. Not. Metroid Pinball is actually a retelling of Metroid Prime.
What?
There's a chance that Metroid Pinball has a better story, a better told story than Metroid Prime. I don't know.
Oh,
that comes from QCHTO.
No, I think that comes from the guy you're about to ban from our channel. Because that is blasphemy.
So now we are in the remake, the fan-made remake this has been in development for a long time.
Yeah,
right?
This has been in development for like 10 years. It's
like before you were born. Like your mom knew about it when she was growing up.
This handed down like the prophecies.
Well, it's like a recipe that goes through your family. It's like, hey, here's the new version of the demo.
Exactly.
It really is very impressive, though.
Oh, it absolutely is. I mean, when you go between the two games, you see how this does feel like a whole new game.
I like that those little froggy guys. They're pretty cool.
Yeah, and it totally reimagines a lot of the enemies. Some of it's pulled from other Metroid games that have come out in previous years, like Fusion and Zero Mission as well. Oh gosh. So yeah, the entire story of that original game is in this. That's trying to retell it, and that is the story of how that last Metroid in captivity comes about. It's really solid. The team is still working on it. I don't know if they've obviously never gotten any takedown notices from Nintendo, because this has been in development.
I mean, yeah, for how long it's been, I think that's crazy impressive, honestly, on their behalf.
Yeah, I mean, this has been in development longer than the last time we got a side-scrolling Metroid game in 2002. Or I guess 2004 with Zero Mission.
So the real kind of elephant in the room question is, as Alexander points out, he doesn't understand how Nintendo allows this to happen. I mean, there's very clear... Basically, these people are doing this, what? Could this be potentially existing on a non-commercial basis?
Yeah, I mean,
guess.
Like, the demo is completely free.
Nintendo cares about that. Nintendo sent the Suicide Girls a cease and desist.
True, that's right.
Because one of them said they liked Mario.
What?
So, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was
when
the whole
did this
thing.
happen?
It was years ago. Oh. Yeah, she just had it on her profile that she was really into Mario, and they're like, oh, no, you don't.
Oh, but the Suicide Girls, or I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought it was the who's the one that Ubisoft produces their.
Jade Raymond?
No. The Ubisoft produces a lot of videos of it's like an esports group that they have that works for Ubisoft.
Oh, the Frag Dolls.
The Frag Dolls. I thought you meant the
Yeah.
Frag Dolls at first. And I was
No.
that seems weird.
That seems a bit excessive.
I was like, well, maybe it's
No.
because they don't want Ubisoft employees to mention how other games exist. I don't know. It's weird. That seems like a Nintendo
Okay.
thing.
Can I go off completely on a tangent for 1 second?
That's what this entire stream is going to be.
Yeah, I was gonna
So-
say that's.
I've exhausted all of my knowledge of Metroid. At
Well, we
this
done
point.
said everything.
I talked about the
Okay.
manga. I talked about the comic / manga. I got yelled at about sucking in that original game. I'll probably die
Yeah.
here too, and people will complain that I'm terrible at this too. But who cares?
Well, okay. So before Microsoft's press conference, this is it's just weird. So they had sent it out. What's your favorite game?
Yes.
And I don't even remember. I don't remember if it was a tweet or it was on Xbox or whatever. They want to know what's your favorite game, and they ran answers like The Legend of Zelda.
Oh yeah.
And it okay, that's really cool that you provided people's honest answers and didn't just curate it to just be your own stuff. But why would you do that?
I think it's kind of like an initiative of theirs to be like, we're real people. We care about stuff. that
We're
you
real people.
I mean, let's be real. Like, that's how that stuff works, you know?
But that's the thing. Like, I don't even understand there is no win there. There is no, oh yeah, hey, we love The Legend of Zelda too. Great, I don't care. Make a
Right.
game that doesn't suck,
Well,
so I can buy it.
Oh,
Please.
geez.
Maybe their whole basis is they want to be like the Yahoo recommendations of video games. It's like, if you like Zelda, try Fable Legends coming out this fall.
Right.
Oh no! Oh, that's terrible.
It's funny because I interviewed Swery.
If you want to buy Hyrule Warriors, go buy Rise.
We got
Oh.
swords in this one too.
Yeah, sure.
That's awful. By the way, Hyrule Warriors looks really cool.
It does.
I mean,
does.
it does until you realize, oh, it's just Dynasty Warriors.
Okay,
let's not go
if
crazy.
you want to be cynical about it, then sure.
I do, and it looks
How
like
is
Dynasty
that cynical,
Warriors.
though? It's true. It's Dynasty Warriors with Zelda paint.
That's kind of the point. Like, you just, I mean...
And you either
Yeah.
think that's cool or not. You know what I mean? I mean, Dynasty. Okay, first of all, there are people who insist that the Dynasty Warriors games are different from each other.
Yeah.
And bless your hearts, if you love those games, that's totally cool by me. I think they're fun for a little while.
They're definitely
I
fun.
find them
They're fun.
repetitious,
Yeah.
personally. But if you love them, awesome. But
Sure.
let's not pretend.
Yeah.
What I like about this stream, Susan, is I'm slowly learning what things weed out your favorite games. You know, it's like, okay, you can't backtrack. You
Oh,
can't
God,
be
oh, Charles.
repetitious. I'm slowly figuring it out.
It depends on the type of repetition, because one of my favorite games of all time is nothing but repetition.
What
Which
game
is
is that?
Phantasy Star Online.
Oh.
That is just the same stuff over and over and over and over and over again.
Mm.
And oh my god, I played that game so much. And Diablo is just repetition, and I love that game.
Yep. That's true. Gosh, I was gonna say something and I totally
Here's
forgot what I was gonna say.
well, yeah, it wasn't going to be interesting anyways.
No,
Here's
it
some.
That's how I know.
Fury of Frog says, by the amount of games that come out on Steam lovingly referred to as Metroidvania, we can assume our game style is not dead. I think that's a great point. And he had earlier said, or he or she, this frog, I guess. At this point, Nintendo needs to know that we want a new Metroid, and I think that's a great indicator that the style. I mean, it's Metroid and Castlevania, these sorts of action platformers where there maybe is some backtracking, not necessarily item, maybe it emphasizes gaining new abilities and stuff through gameplay and stuff. I mean, those are the sorts of game styles that, yeah, they're not wrong. I see this especially when I was lovingly covering Kickstarter games constantly.
Lovingly. It says begrudgingly,
I
surprisingly.
do. Oh, man. So many numbers. But they come up all the time. And so I think there's definitely something to that.
Mm-hmm.
That this game style is something that could be constantly tapped into. I mean, do you guys think that a new Super Metroid style game whether it's on Wii U or 3DS, do you think it would be successful?
I just don't know how they haven't done like a 3DS version that's of the style of like Super Metroid, or even that, like release it on 3DS, release it on Wii U as like a downloadable game. Like this franchise obviously has legs. I mean, they're using the same character twice in Smash Brothers and pretending like they're not doing that already. Like Samus is in it with her
her
suit.
in high heels, and I can't even. I don't.
It's so weird. I mean, like the franchise is really interesting. It has what I think is a way more interesting story than anything that's ever been in a Mario game. Or, I mean, does Mario even have stories? Like, I don't understand.
Sure, yeah.
Sure,
like,
we're going to discuss the merits of them in 30 seconds. We're going to be right back, people. Just, if you've got Turbo, you'll hear us still bantering, but we'll be back 30 seconds, hang tight.
Bantering.
And yes, Mario S, it's quote-unquote stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're not great. I think that Metroid is only slightly more enriching, but I mean, both games focus on action,
Sure. I don't know. I mean, like, maybe it's because I'm just such a fan of the series, so I put blinders onto it, but it's frustrating every single year where it's just like I understand that they want to try some new stuff, but I mean, if you're hurting, and they are hurting, you'd think that they'd be like, all right, let's go ahead and bring out this franchise. People always accuse Nintendo of trotting out the same 3 franchises, and it's Mario, Zelda, and Metroid. But they never do with Metroid.
Well, first of all, before we get people arguing over whether or not Nintendo's hurting, I don't believe...
The Wii U specifically, sorry.
Well, that's true. I think Nintendo has kind of lost their confidence, I think. I think at this point, they know that they don't know what's wrong. But I think it took them a while to get to that point, right? But I think now they figured out, like, okay, our secret sauce is not quite as bulletproof as we thought it was. Maybe we need to rethink some stuff. It is, though, still really super curious to me that they have, and you know what? Maybe they will completely surprise us, and like at E3 next year, it'll be like, oh, by the way, here's Metroid. It's out next week.
Yeah.
Maybe, maybe that is absolutely a possibility. But it is very curious that, I mean, there is clearly love for this character and this franchise. I absolutely 100% think that a game, assuming it was a well done game, right? I definitely think it would do well. And it's curious to me that Nintendo does not seem to be of the same belief.
I mean, are there other franchises that Nintendo has that you think of that? Like, I think, like, Kid Icarus was one that came up a lot, like, a year ago, or a couple years ago, before the 3DS game came out, where everyone was talking about Kid Icarus coming back. Like, Kirby, I feel like sometimes we go long stretches without a Kirby game, and people seem to like that franchise. I mean, before Epic Yarn...
That's true. Yeah, okay.
There wasn't too much before Epic Yarn.
Graystream in the chat says, Other M felt like a sincere but ultimately terrible attempt to update the series.
Yeah,
I can see that. I mean, the thing is there might, I hate thinking of it this way because I really did feel that a lot of the issues with the story and the treatment of Samus as a character really, really sucked. But it could boil down to being sort of a cultural difference in style and the way that they conveyed that character, which I think was one of the biggest issues with that game, because Samus is seen as a strong, let's just be real, it's a strong female character that suddenly was deciding not to use something like, what was it, using armor that would protect her against heat because she was not told to. I mean, those are the sorts of things that it's just, come on, like, cut it out.
And that would make sense, and I'll get back to the nerd part of it. That would kind of make sense if that in the series was like the first game or the second game. But it's in the canon, it's the second last game. Like she's
That's
already
weird.
gone.
Such a nerd. Oh my god.
See, and
It's
I thought it was
true.
supposed to be. I thought it was supposed to be Samus getting her start out of the academy.
No,
that was a different one, wasn't it?
No, I mean, because a lot of what she's seeing are flashbacks, so that's
it.
probably
Yep,
it.
there's flashbacks.
But yeah, it's the problem with it is that what you're seeing, the majority of what you're seeing is stuff that because what happens is in Fusion there is dialogue in the game for the first time, pretty much. Like,
yeah,
she's talking to a person that reminds her of someone that she used to know, and the story in Other M
who would be Gautier.
Yeah, I was. Oh man, you beat me to it.
God, guys. All right. So thanks for watching, and we're gonna end the stream. So like in the story, it's someone that you end up remembering, and then Other M is that story of that character that you were supposed to have known years ago that made her act like a child. It was really disappointing.
I want to bring up. I was actually going to mention this before, but Fury of Frog beat me to it. Yeah, but the problem with the strong female character thing is the way we picture her as the silent protagonist. We all felt of her that way, but really the intention of the creator was allegedly different. That's possible, and I think that's one of the biggest issues with Other M was the fact that there was such an emphasis on story and dialogue and spoken dialogue at all. I mean, people still enjoyed Metroid Prime while there was story involved in that, but it was primarily environmental storytelling, right? And there was a lot more silence, so you still had that sense of being alone in this grand world, this grand alien world that you don't know, that you have to discover, that has dangers at every turn.
Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you, but the thing is also that the story is so, like, people know the character and people know the franchise, but I would guess that a lot of people wouldn't even know that, like, Samus has a whole Superman thing. Like, her family was on a ship that was attacked and she was sent in a rocket ship to another planet. Like, that happens in the series.
Right.
And, like, a lot of people probably don't realize that that's the real story. And so, like, although it's possible that, you know, sure, you know, someone who's new to the military and terrified might have that, but, like, people only know what they've seen of that character, you know, up into a point, and they just know her as this strong protagonist. So it was really strange to see her in that scenario as this, like, really weak character who was looking for help, and, like, I don't know, I don't want to say, like, was sort of the damsel in distress, because I don't know if it was quite that bad, but there were scenarios where that is sort of the
it took away her agency, is what it is.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, you have someone who is in charge of her own decisions, and who, you know, whatever she might be internalizing is at least active and doing things, and then it's, could you make this decision for me?
Right, exactly.
Because it's scary.
And
you know,
it's a huge issue when you're introducing that with a female character, but I don't think anybody would enjoy that with any character.
Well, exactly. That's what I was about to say. Like, it wouldn't be, you know, if Mario was suddenly doing that, like, hey, would really love to help you out, Peach, but gonna need the go-ahead from Luigi before I can do anything. Yeah, like, it's ridiculous.
Right, exactly. I had a great comment that's in here, but I'm having troubles finding it. Where are you? I think it's talk amongst yourselves, everybody.
Well, now everybody's talking about who voices Link.
Yes, we have that, but the BAM says if Nintendo can revive classic Donkey Kong with modern graphics, Nintendo can revive classic Metroid with Wii U graphics. I agree to a small extent. But part of the issue we're talking about here is the sense of characters and the sense of, like, dialogue and stuff. Nobody's expecting Donkey Kong to suddenly start talking. You know, I mean, because he's a monkey. Like, that's part of the thing. That's part of the.
I don't know, if Sonic could get a girlfriend, Donkey Kong could start talking.
Sonic is not going to be the barometer for this. Like, ever.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. But that, I think that's the question I want to ask you guys, and I want to ask the chat, is this issue with storytelling and with world building. times have changed in games. You can do anything you want in a video game now, as opposed to back in the days when Samus was introduced on the NES and later systems. There was more of a limitation, and stories had to be told in a different way. Could the Metroid that we all want actually exist nowadays? That's what I want to know.
I don't know. I mean, for me, I just like this style of game. To say that it couldn't exist anymore would be to say that like this style is not profitable.
Right.
And I don't know. I mean, like I feel like it's on handhelds, especially if you released another Metroid game like Fusion, for example. Yeah, that's a big franchise. I'm sure there are people.
Well, wait, are we saying that like in a vacuum, or like if Metroid had never existed, could this game style be successful?
Oh no, I'm talking about now, like in the real world now, not in a vacuum. Just
no, but are we? But do you mean like?
Is it possible? Can we get back to those glory years?
Oh God, glory years! Jesus Christ!
I have to. Look, I got to sell the people on the stream here, Susan.
Yeah, you know what's gonna because people like you, who's like, oh, these games were so good, and they were amazing, and they were the best, and oh, that's great. Yeah, then of course you'll all buy it. And it might be good or it might not.
But I'm talking
of course it would work. Of course. Why do you, like you said, why do you think all those Kickstarter games are, well, okay, part of the reason why they use these graphics is because that's easier than doing...
Well, you're actually going to have a successful Kickstarter if you do it. That's part of it.
Well, that's true too.
Sure. Well, look at, what's that game that's coming out that's an indie game that's basically Super Metroid? Axiom Verge, I think?
Oh, man, I played that at E3. That is... pound for pound, that is a Metroid game.
Yeah, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, down to the bricks and just the look of it all, it is incredibly Metroid. I mean, and I think there might have been a quote from one of its developers that they are tired. I don't quote me on this because I'd have to look around to find it, but they were tired of the comparisons. But dude, you're gonna get comparisons.
Well, then maybe you shouldn't have made a Metroid game.
Yeah, maybe you shouldn't be making exactly what is a Metroid game. It's very wow.
So that's the thing. If you're gonna do that, just own it. You know, I mean, the reason people still care about Metroid and still play Metroid is because it's quality. You know, it's really well designed. It's clearly very pleasing. It's very satisfying, and people dig it. So. Just we made that game because it's a really good idea.
Sure. So for Nintendo's sake, it's totally doable to create another Metroid game where it's like, look, we're not going to have Samus talk. We're going to keep that silent protagonist thing going. I mean, I think that too. I just think that, you know, maybe they got caught up in trying to modernize the series.
Well, on Twitter,
fell in their face.
Jason C. tells me that Nintendo unofficially mentioned that at least 2 Metroid games were in development.
I thought the last Metroid was in captivity.
What does unofficially mentioned mean?
I don't know.
I don't know, yeah. It's hard. You can't unofficially mention something in an official capacity.
It's very nature. It's no longer unofficial.
Exactly. If someone from the company says a thing, it's official.
Wait, guys. There was a Metroid Prime done with Oculus Rift.
What?
Hello.
Oh, that's right. I think that was a fan-made sort of...
Dude.
Why was I not informed?
Wow, that would be incredible.
Can I change my best of E3? I'm going to just change it to that.
That would be... Yeah, I would play the heck out of that. Like, if you know, because all the stuff that comes up on our visor and stuff, that would be awesome. Oh my god. And then, Mike, the gloves... that you used at E3, or at that E3 that work with Oculus, so you could actually have her weapons and stuff, and oh my god, that would be amazing.
Samus.
Oh god, that would be so cool.
You know, if people want to know what that is, it's called Control VR. We have a video from E3 up on our little website at Joystiq with the Q.com, and that was weird. What it is it's like a suit of sorts. Like you actually have gear that you wear, including gloves and like armbands that track your hand and arm movements, so that while you're wearing Oculus Rift, or I think they plan on having it be compatible with Sony's Morpheus. They had mentioned Google Glass. I mean, it's going to be a little bit more broad-reaching. How
about that new Google VR stuff with the cardboard? Is that going to be is that compatible?
I don't know. Can you plug a USB cord into a cardboard thing? I don't know how that works. I don't even want to know how that works.
I don't know. Did you see that, Susan? The cardboard VR glasses
I did.
that Google released?
I did. I'm like, I'm not putting cardboard glasses on my head. I'm sorry.
What do you think would get you punched faster in public? That or Google Glass?
Okay,
like,
in fairness, Google Glass would.
I feel like Google's main directive now is let's see how many of our users we can get punched.
They're just trolling people. What can we get them to strap to their heads now?
It's just that's what it seems like their prime directive is. The
next one is just going to be a kitten and a belt. Just going to.
Right. But it's funny that we immediately hear Metroid Prime on Oculus Rift, which Catarax in the chat is trying to direct. Links never seem to work for people in the chat for Twitch.
We don't allow it so that people can't spam porn.
Yeah, and man, that does happen. So sorry about that. But if you go to YouTube and you search for Metroid Prime Oculus Rift, we maybe posted it on our little website bloggy thing. You can check that too. But that sounds cool, and I think it's cool that we're ogling over that. Because remember, way back in the day, when Metroid Prime was a concept, people were worried that would not even work.
They were freaking out
first-person
over
Metroid.
The thought of it, yeah.
And that entire idea was something that people didn't think was possible. I remember the term first-person adventure being a thing because of the platforming and everything. And you know what? It worked really well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the game was beautiful. The game
was great.
Really, really exceptionally well done.
If you've never played it, I'm gonna let you in on a secret too. If you do want to play it, I would suggest you somehow find the original release of that game.
Yeah.
Because subsequent releases of it, they removed a bunch of the sequence breaking stuff. I'm about to die here because I'm not really paying attention too much. So if you want to play the actual game, try to go on eBay and find the original releases of it, because the Players Club one and even the what is the one that came out for Wii, the trilogy, they removed a bunch of that stuff.
Yeah, and we have
God, this is really hard with the 360 controller.
I was gonna say I have Metroid Prime and Metroid Prime 2 for GameCube. I'm never giving those up.
You can get it for $4. I'm looking at eBay right now.
Shut up!
Yup.
That's one of the best GameCube games of all time. Games in general, man. Metroid Prime is fantastic. $4?
$4.
Wow.
You can get Metroid Prime pinball.
Someone in the chat is trying to say that the controls were improved tenfold in the Metroid trilogy. That's
debatable.
No.
I mean, some people really enjoy the pointer controls using the Wii remote. I have to respect that, but the interesting thing with Metroid Prime, I mean, I think another one of the complaints was having to use the GameCube controller and not having access to dual analog sticks. And for some people that was an issue, but I found that using the gorgeous little curved trigger button to basically switch between movements and locking on and turning Samus's head. I thought that was pretty smooth, actually, when it came to Metroid Prime. So I'm not going to totally agree with that idea personally, but I can understand why people would feel that way.
They're just wrong.
Then, of course,
I do not have a dog in this fight.
Blue Hermit Dog says Metroid Prime is the Citizen Kane of video games. It has to be said.
Oh God, this just reminds me how much I hate the D-pad on the 360 controller. It's so stiff. There we go.
Ugh.
This thing is just thwacking you. It's like, I'm just gonna hit you with my big green belly.
I know.
Whack. Whack.
So now, how long is this demo again, Zav?
Well, if you're Zav.
If you're me, we can be here all day.
You said that people have done a speed run of about
30
minutes.
Yeah.
Do you know about how much of the game that accounts for?
It's like a third, I think.
Okay.
So this is available right now in our post on joystiq.com. There's a link to it, so you can go and download this for PC. It's an executable, so you could just go ahead and play it yourself.
Just go ahead
it's
and
really
execute
great.
It.
It's really great. The music is fantastic. They've redone the music. They've redone all the art and the assets. They say that it's inspired by Super Nintendo, Super Metroid on Super Nintendo, But I would say that this feels a little bit more like even Metroid Zero Mission, which had a little bit of a different control, I think. Because that came out around the same time that this project started. Or Fusion came out around the same time that this project started. And then Sorry?
I'm sorry, finish what you're saying.
I was going to say, and that's what sort of this feels like to me.
I'm just, as I'm watching your progress and watching the the cave system that you're in and all that, I am shocked they have not tried to make a movie out of this. I mean, in fairness, it's obviously got some very serious Alien franchise overtones to it,
right.
but yeah, like, female bounty hunter, space pirates. Why have they not made this into a movie yet?
It's interesting. I think what they're trying to do is they're going to reboot the Super Mario movie franchise, and then they're going to go. They're just waiting for John Leguizamo to become available again.
He's a busy man. He works a lot. Not in anything good, really, but he works a lot. Yeah, and it's going to be the Super Mario Sunshine plot on Pianta Island. I love that game. That is an underrated classic.
See, now that's one that I've never played.
Oh, it's good. The camera takes some getting used to, for sure.
I've heard that,
but
yeah.
It's one of my favorite Mario games.
That Mario game actually has a more, intricate story than most Mario games, too.
Yeah, it has an actual plot.
Yeah. And it has a, it has that water thing that is...
the flood.
It is also... It's pretty much like the volleyball in Castaway. Like, it's its own character... although it does talk, which is weird.
It does talk, yeah.
We will continue.
Oh my gosh, Greystream says for Samus they should use the actress who is Brienne from Game of Thrones.
Ooh, yes, please.
Yes.
Let's all mull on that for 30 seconds. We'll be back in a little while, people. I have to remember the name of that actress. I know it. Gwendolyn Christie or something?
Oh, I just know she's a model.
Is she?
Yeah.
Gwendolyn. Oh, yep, Gwendolyn Christie. She is fantastic. I love her.
Oh yeah, she's awesome. I love her.
She's fantastic on that show, and she would be such an awesome.
She's
such
perfect.
A badass character.
Yeah, she is perfect to be Samus. That is an excellent casting choice.
Yeah, that is a fantastic choice, and she would just nail every part of that, I think. Yeah. Okay. So one thing I wanted to chittity chat about. I don't know. I think that it is interesting that this game is the one that is being remade. Metroid 2, and this was originally Game Boy, right? Yeah. Because one of the things with a Game Boy game is that there was such a limited amount of space that development had to be developers had to be more cautious with what they were showing on screen and how they were able to convey certain elements, right? Because you didn't have much room to work with.
Sure.
So I mean, now when you push that up to like Super Nintendo level, I think maybe I think it's interesting to see, because I remember, if I remember correctly, from what you were showing earlier, Metroid 2, I mean, Samus is a little bigger on the screen compared to the rest of the environment and everything, and now she's obviously smaller, and it feels like you have a bigger area. So it does feel like a very different game to me. I think that part of it's fascinating. That maybe that sense of what you have to do as a developer is kind of lost in translation.
Yeah, and the project started around. Prime had just come out around 2002, and that was it was an experiment. People didn't know if that was going to be what the future of this franchise was going to be. So I feel like this was sort of a, hey, why don't we take the Metroid that is so unlike any other Metroid we've played and make it into a game that we recognize. Like, Super Metroid is constantly on top games of all-time lists.
Yeah, absolutely.
People love that game. So to make this game that kind of gets crapped on because it's weird on the Game Boy, to be more like that game, I feel like that makes more sense to me. I'm waiting for someone to like demake Prime into this style. That'd be pretty funny.
That would be cool.
But I know a lot of people who love Metroid who hate the Prime series. It's really fascinating to me. Whereas for me, I mean, I think Prime might be my favorite game of that generation. Like, more than Halo, more than anything else. Like, I love Metroid Prime.
Oh, it was so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I already waxed poetic about that. But, I mean, part of the thing with Metroid Prime, though, too, is that it's so focused on it being a big world that you are in that first-person perspective of. And so maybe you'd lose a bit of the cool factor of the... the cool factor. Who am I? Of
Tell
like,
us about fun factors now.
I know, right? Of the puzzles and stuff that really made better use of the perspective that you were in for that game. You'd lose that a bit if you were in a third-person side-scrolling style game.
Okay.
Like I think of like the big pit. You remember the Sav? Like they had areas that were like big open abyss, like that you had to get around and across. And you don't have that same sense of scale when you have that like side scrolling,
Yeah, I think I don't know. Like I remember being really worried. I think we brought this up earlier. I remember being really worried when they announced Metroid Prime as a first-person shooter, and this is before like they did Fallout as a first-person shooter, or they announced XCOM as a first-person shooter, where it was like, what do we do with these old franchises people seem to love? Well, let's just make it into a shooter. Like that was totally the opposite of what I think everyone was expecting. But I remember being really surprised by that series. And I remember actually at the time I was working at a video game store, and we used to have these TVs on the counter where people can like play demos, and we used to turn the GameCube station and just play Metroid Prime all day because we were model employees. And that was basically our entire day, was just playing Metroid Prime. But yeah, no, I mean, was there a reason why did you not play a lot of GameCube, Susan, or was it just the franchise never really you got into?
Oh no, I played lots of GameCube stuff. It's simply all the backtracking just drives me crazy.
There's a lot of Prime, yeah.
It's really thick in Prime.
Yeah.
It's really, really thick, and I just got tired of it. No, I love my GameCube. One of my favorite games of all time is Piano 3.
Yes, that's right. I just bought... Well, see, the reason why I was playing... I thought it was funny we were playing the GameCube version of... Like, I was playing Metroid 2 on my GameCube because I just bought a GameCube and a Game Boy player. I don't know what made me do it, but I ended up going out and buying a bunch of GameCube stuff. I still had a bunch of old GameCube games like Metroid Prime and Metal Gear Twin Snakes and Ikaruga, which is still fantastic. I love the GameCube version of that.
So good. So good.
So, aside from Piano 3, what other GameCube games? Because I just feel like talking GameCube now, personally.
Sure.
We've
exhausted
games...
a lot of Metroid talk.
Oh, yeah, but...
I think, God, what did I buy recently? Oh, man, this guy's freaking out. I bought Bait and Chaos.
I have that. Yeah, I have that.
The original one by Monolith Soft. They did Xenogears, not Xenogears.
Yeah, I have that and the
Xenoblade
sequel
Chronicles.
because I'm a freaking nerd.
Oh God,
yeah.
This guy's.
I also have Geist.
Oh, Geist was
Geist.
cool.
Do you guys remember that
idea.
pinball game called Odama?
Yep. Used the microphone.
What is it, Barack Obama? I don't know.
Yes,
I don't know
Barack
this.
Odama.
Oh gosh, it was so weird. You controlled armies on a pinball table and you shouted commands at them into the microphone.
Okay, so Barack Obama still.
It was very weird little game.
God, what was that?
In this game, you're commander-in-chief. This joke has run its course.
Has it though? I feel like we can keep going.
I know I could.
No, there was.
Oh, Billy Hatcher, no, something to make that game is not good.
Oh gosh.
And that commercial drove me nuts. I would sing it.
Like
it would just be that Billy Hatcher song would be stuck in my head for hours at a time.
Super Mario Man 08 is just dropping games on us. Eternal Darkness.
Oh yeah,
Eternal Darkness was. I played that first when it was still an N64 game.
I have not
and
played
it was
that.
bad.
I gotta get
It was
that.
bad.
Would
when
you
it was
play
an
that
N64.
at a trade game or something? A trade show?
This is actually before I was in the industry, but I was, long story, invited to a Nintendo event, and it was there as a demo. and it was not good. So really, like, so when it came out on GameCube, I was like, I don't know. But clearly, they made really good use of the extra time and moving it to the stronger system, because that game is amazing.
Joe Maiden says Resident Evil 4 was the best GameCube exclusive in my opinion before it was released on every other console.
Yeah, I think my toaster runs a version of that game now.
I know, right? I have a Wi-Fi enabled fridge that I downloaded Resident Evil 4 to.
I have every Resident Evil for GameCube because they reissued 1, 2, and 3.
That's right. Yeah.
I have that. I have those. I have 4. I have 0. All of them. I'm a little crazy Resident Evil person until 5 happened, and that's when it started just all going horribly
It's funny
wrong.
because me and Luddy are actually pretty big fans of 5. It's 6 that I cannot get behind at all.
I don't even think I tried it at all.
Oh, you never even played 6?
I don't think I did, because 5, I was just like, it was, my biggest problem with 6,
Oh, God.
it was daytime. It was daytime. So I'm like, this is not scary. I'm in a wide open field, because you know how it starts off, you're in like wide open spaces, so that's not scary.
No.
Also, yes, Greystream, Cubivore, yes, yes, all about it, all day long.
We're also getting love for F-Zero GX.
Oh God, yeah.
That's an absolute yes. And then
Yes.
Snipe Hockey says Killer 7 was such a bizarre GameCube game, and I have that for PS2, and yes, that is incredibly bizarre.
I have that for GameCube as well. I freaking love that game.
Me too. Oof.
It is effed up.
Yep.
But
That's
the
a
other
super
problem I had with Resident Evil 5 was it completely copy-pasted the chainsaw guy.
Yeah.
Like, when you're in Resident Evil 4, the first time that guy with the sack on his head, the chainsaw shows up, it's like, no problem, shotgun. Oh my God, shotgun's not killing him! And you realize that you are really, really screwed. And it's really terrifying, and it's super, super tense. Really, really great moment of gameplay. And then they just do the exact same thing in 5, and it's like, oh, I see. You got a chainsaw.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to kill you, so I'm just going to run. Bye.
The Big Mac Attack is shouting out to Paper Mario Thousand Year Door. I thought that was I thought it's still a really cool reinvention, though, for Mario. I mean, but again, Mario gets reinvented a million times over. Metroid, you can say it's been done like 2 or 3 times. Otherwise, a lot of the games bear so many similarities. I mean, I would say there's Prime for going to that first-person perspective. And then you have Other M, which was something else entirely. And then the originals, I would say that's like the 3 ways you divide it out, right?
Yeah,
maybe that's just me.
So. No, that makes sense. That makes sense to me.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm a fan of Paper Mario. I thought it was cool. I think it's cute.
I really, really enjoy Paper Mario a lot. I didn't love Thousand Year Door.
Okay.
That's the GameCube. That is the GameCube one, right?
I believe it is.
I didn't love it. I don't think it's as good as, I don't think it's as strong as the other ones.
Well, I mean, that was supposed to be a direct sequel to the Square Enix.
The
original,
and that's
the N64 one was.
Which was so freaking good.
I love that.
It's so good. Like, whenever I get the inevitable question of what would you like to see redone or rebooted, that one, Super Mario RPG, give it to me.
Apparently it was like a contract issue, and they like got into a legal battle or something, or argument about it. But God, yeah, I'm glad that.
God, it's a collaboration between Square and Nintendo. Yeah, that nobody's coming out of that bloodless.
Yeah, exactly.
So I have, thinking back to Metroid, the series, I have, I don't know, people probably don't really care, but I got my start writing about games. A couple years ago, I was writing about only Nintendo stuff. So like I have like a deeply rooted history in writing about Nintendo. And every year for E3, my hope and dream was similar to you, Zav, a new Metroid game. But for me, I always wanted to get an online multiplayer Metroid game that wasn't Metroid Prime Hunters for DS, because that's, in my opinion, not a great game. Like, I'm not a fan of that.
What are you talking about, buddy? You don't like that 3DS action?
No, for DS specifically, but I mean
DS action. Sorry.
Yeah, think about it
I'm
though.
being
with
facetious either way. Don't worry.
I know
It's
with
terrible.
The D-pad mixed with the stylus. I mean, you need the dual stick thing. It just doesn't work as good on the handheld. But I've always wanted that, and I could the Wii U be a system that does something like that finally, that could make my dreams come true? I want to believe it. I'm really just asking this question so you guys can be like, yeah, Mike, let's do it. Let's just get Nintendo on the horn.
I don't know. I feel like they're in a weird position because they could do it one of two ways. They can go back to the well and do the original style, and then people will be happy, but then some people will cry for innovation.
Right.
And then or they can go back to the first-person shooter game, and then people will do the exact same thing. They'll be upset that they're going back to the well and that idea.
Sure.
So I maybe they're in a weird like damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with the series.
But I mean, we just haven't had a good Metroid game in so long. Will there really be that many people that are going to be like, oh, going back to the well? Like, guys, that well is like overflowing. It's just waiting for us to go back to it. I don't think anybody's really going to be that mad. If they did it, like, think about Donkey Kong Country Returns. I mean, it's right in the name. It actually returned. I mean, like that, people were so excited about, and then all of a sudden it's like Tropical Freeze. Oh, well, I mean, you guys already did this, you know? I think maybe then, if you go back to back like that, maybe then people will have an issue. But in my opinion, I think if Nintendo decided to finally release a proper Metroid game that was practically the same as Super Metroid, let's say, I don't think anybody would really complain.
No, of course not. No, why would they? It's a really high quality game. It's really fun. It clearly stands the test of time.
Yeah. Anyways, just make it. Just make the thing that I want. Do it.
God,
the whole purpose of the stream, right?
It's so bad.
Also, I just need to cut it. No, Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles is not a good game. It's not. The thing with the bucket isn't. Just no.
Somewhere Anthony is just rearing his head up, being like,
I know.
"What's going on?" I feel
like,
like I'm being paged right now.
Are we? Yeah. Okay. Fury of Frog. We had fun arguing over who was going to be the chalice carrier. Yeah. Guess what? That was always me. So I was playing with my boyfriend. So he was like, "Well, you got to carry the freaking bucket." I'm like, "I don't feel like carrying the goddamn bucket." Yeah. I was always stuck carrying the bucket. It was very pretty, and I appreciate the. See, this is the thing that Nintendo does a lot. I feel. They innovate in ways and because they can, and yet don't really question whether they should.
Yeah. They innovate in ways that it's like, well, wait, you could have done this thing that everybody, I think, would have wanted, but instead you did this thing, and I don't really get it. Like, it's like, here's a new Pilot Wings game, except it's kind of mini games, like Wii Sports. Oh, and also you have to use your Miis. You know, it's like, it's not really Pilot Wings, guys. Like, where's Big Al? Where's Lance or whatever their names are? You know, like
I appreciate the thought. Like, hey, let's try and lots of people who have GameCubes have Game Boy Advances. Mm-hmm. Let's find a way to connect the two. That's a really great thought. Making that the way you control your character. Not so awesome.
Yeah.
And they did it with, there was a Pac-Man game like that, too.
Well, Pac-Man is a series that has seen some really interesting games.
Well, that's very true. Although Pac-Man Championship Edition is
yeah.
It's not what it sounded like you said there.
Yeah,
I know.
You said Championship Edition.
But no, I mean, that game...
That's an actual Pac-Man game, though.
So
like,
good.
I remember playing the Pac-Man side-scrolling adventure game on Genesis. I cannot remember what it's called. It was like Pac-Man... I think they wanted to call it Pac-Man 2 or something like that. I cannot remember. But it was like Pac-Man would just continually walk in a direction, and you had to either click on him or click on the elements around him to get him to do stuff. It was the weirdest game. And I can't remember what it's called, but I need to find out.
Yeah, I need to know what this is so I can avoid it at all costs.
It was a Genesis game that was just... But you had a cursor and everything, and you had to actually move the hand around the screen, too. Oh, it was garbage. Pac-Man 2 New Adventures, apparently, is what Blue Nile 101 is saying. I think that might be it.
Sneak.
Sneak.
Sneak?
I don't think the Sneak was in the name.
I need to know if Sneak was in the name.
That would be great.
Because that kind of makes it better.
No, for Super Nintendo. I know that. I know I played this on Genesis. I do remember that much.
That's not as fun. I want it to be Sneak instead.
Yeah. But yeah, it's, you know, if anything, as we're playing, as Zav is struggling in this this Metroid 2 remake, the fire is still burning for Samus, right? People want this.
Oh, I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah.
I mean, she's a beloved character, and the majority of Metroid games are really quality games, and hold up. So I think it's a very, very safe bet to say that people would really like another classic Metroid game.
All right, guys, let's just. Let's just develop.
Okay, let's just do that.
Well, we have this.
How hard could it be, really?
Clearly, it's taken 10 years for these people, so there's that. But that brings us to 5 o'clock somewhere. Who knows where? This is the end of another glorious Joystiq streams. I don't know how Anthony does this with the talking and the telling people what to do, but I can tell you that if you want...
Anthony, he talks a lot.
He does. I think for Anthony, how he works is volume. Just say a whole bunch of things, and eventually it's gonna stick. And so that's what I'm gonna do. What you guys can do is you should hit. I don't think he says it enough. If you want to know when we're gonna be on, first off, Joystiq streams is every Tuesday and Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard and/or Daylight Time. I don't know. Check your local listings. But we're here at twitch.tv/joystiq. You can just hit that subscribe button. That's kind of nice. We always have news and stuff going on. That's at joystiq.com with a Q. We're all over the interwebs, at Twitter, at Joystiq, facebook.com/joystiq, Google Plus for whoever uses that. I don't. A lot of
people use that. It freaks me out.
It's crazy, but hey, you know what? More power to you guys.
How many people are employed by Google though?
Right.
Oh, that's true. That's fair.
And you know, maybe we're on Friendster. Maybe we're on MySpace. Maybe
we are. Maybe we're not.
Who knows?
No, it's to you.
But we're all over that place. So follow us up. Susan, what's your Twitter?
My Twitter is just my name. I'm going to put it in the chat for y'all. You know what? Because I'm a nice person, I'm going to put all of our Twitters
Yeah,
in
do
there.
that. So it's at Susan Arndt, and then at Zav, and at Mike Suzak, and then at A. John Agnello, and tell them, just tweet at Anthony and say, hey, we missed you today.
Oh, yeah.
Or you could be like, hey, we didn't miss you today. I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like we did.
And I don't know what our stream schedule is, but again, we'll be back next Tuesday, and that's when we're going to be streaming something. I don't know. Anthony normally has an idea what the schedule's like. It's probably available for me to look at somewhere, but I feel like maybe we need to give people a sense of mystery, a sense of like a cliffhanger, you know? And that's what you're getting this week, is you're getting the cliffhanger of all cliffhangers with Joystiq streams. What'll happen next week? Who knows?
I don't know why something Mimic is saying this, but I love it. Maybe I got Joystiq from the back of a truck. Maybe I didn't.
Maybe you did. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that does it. That's a fantastic thing with other stuff. And you know what? We also have a podcast.
Oh my God.
You can hit us on iTunes and on joystiq.com. And that, Susan, we did that. That's coming out tomorrow on Friday.
Yes, it is.
And you know what? It was a real fun episode. We talk about a lot of awesome iPad games. We talk about UFC and beating people up in the face. We also talk about this game that you played, Susan, called
Atelier Rorona.
Atelier Rorona is the name of the game that you will hear about on the Super Joystiq podcast tomorrow. And that's it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Susan. Thank you, Zav. Thank you, me.
Thank you, Mike.
And that's it.
Bye.
We love you.
Thanks for watching, everybody. I'm really sorry. I really apologize.